moves and it's so better leave. I'ma swap it for time and that's take it for me. When we jittery base in 2 days, I'm on 3, I'm gone. Palomino control, cappuccino to tone. I done made a song. Stack it up, stack it up.
Yeah. Yo. What's up, gang? Welcome back. I know that it's a super exciting time for cryptocurrency speculation right now. So
yeah,
we had to make sure to come live and help y'all out.
get you wet and ready for summer 2024.
For real. Well, yeah, it's just the two boys today, just me and Senior RT. So thank you guys for joining us. If you're with us, what's up, RT? I heard you quit.
Just me and my side toast.
I heard you're just fucking speculating on sports competitions.
Sports betting, yeah. I got my Kleenex box in the shot, my old Magnus hat. Yeah. I'm just like keeping active, you know? I think the best advice I was given this summer was to not try to force the trade, not try to, there's always a trade. Price always moving, market's always open. There's always a way you could put money at risk one direction or the other. But, and I've said this every stream, so it's getting a little redundant, but yeah, the amount of time, effort, and risk you take to get a gain in this market, the numbers don't add up. So the best advice I got was to just not trade. And it's, since you can't really calculate what you didn't lose, what really matters to me is like when we're back in an environment of making money, and that doesn't mean new all-time highs. I mean, there'll be an environment of making money once big buy volume steps in at some kind of low. But until that time, what can I do? I'm going to be on my computer. I still have work to do. I've still got a lot of projects I'm working with, helping out on, all this stuff. There's stuff to do. I'm just not trading. So I'm sports betting, and I'm actually really enjoying it. I got my spreadsheet. I get to go watch the hockey games. The season start up. I usually come in hot with hockey, and then like by Christmas I'm like bored of it and I wait for the playoffs. But right now I'm enjoying the shit out of it. It's very exciting. And the spreadsheeting and the sports betting, it's very similar. It's almost the exact same actually as trading sports, like from risk management point of view. Yeah. So I'm staying sharp with that.
Well, that's cool, man.
Yeah. might even make some money. If you have a 50 unit win season and your $100 units, you make $5K. It's like less than minimum wage over a period of a season, but it's fun. I still get the full thrill when I get to watch the game, and
Yeah, I have absolutely zero experience with that, except my brother and his friend were addicted to sports betting and very bad at it for a period of time. Yeah. So I watched them get wrecked.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope. The same person who told me not to trade this summer, shout out to Elliot Rowe, my mindset coach. He also works with gamblers and like high performing gamblers, like guys who win. But he's like, yeah, I've seen dudes blow up. He's like, the thing about gambling is like, there's no limit. Like no matter how rich you are, you can still blow up your whole thing because it's this idea of martingaling and doubling down. And you're like, oh man, I just lost 100K. Fuck it, 200K on the fucking Seahawks. Like, there's no limit, right? And if you've never experienced it, I feel happy for you. When I was younger with smaller stakes, I definitely blew up a few accounts, picked up a few debts. Nothing like crazy, obviously, but
did you get your legs broken by the mafia?
No, but I had a bookie and I was into him for more than I could afford to pay, to the tune of like $3,500, and I had to come up with a payment plan, and I had to pay him off over a period of 6 months. My mom helped me. Yeah, it wasn't scary. He was like this old dude, like, but it's like he knows the guy. Like he wasn't the collector; he was the guy running the book. Anyways, yeah, man, I've been in those situations. Well, once actually, just that situation. So, point is, risk management is key. Sports betting can be fun, but play within your limit, all that fun stuff. But no, I'm enjoying the spreadsheeting, the data nerd stuff. I'm enjoying not looking at my trade account or the market for a while. I'm mostly in cash, have been for a while. And I say mostly, that's probably 60%. So still have lots of exposure, but I'm just like, I've looked at that cash position. I'm like, I will just chill with you. And when the dips come and the sports guy, yeah, he does. When the sports, when the buy volume comes in, we'll know. We'll see it on the chart. We'll be like, this looks like things are about to get exciting. And I expect that would be through the end of the year.
Damn. Well, yeah, it's like it's weird for me because everyone's like so doom and gloom right now on the timeline, and it's like the volatility is not that diff. So either everyone was one weighing it and now like doesn't know what to do, or I don't know what it is, but like it's just weird to see because like, as a scalper, and it's not like I'm alone, like there's plenty of low time frame traders that go both ways, but still like the atmosphere is dark. I don't know why.
Well, I think we're getting into two things. First of all, there was like the red September, which is pretty standard. Nobody expects September to be that sunny. There's actually the big dump was in August, but but we're getting into this October where people are having some hope again for Q4.
Don't you mean Uptober, dude?
Exactly. And that's not happening. So it's a further beat down on their psyche, as well as we're just getting through this time capitulation. I mean, Bitcoin price is exactly at the same price on March 17th of this year when we first broke up to this level. And we have broken up and down through this level. Let's just put a line through it. I mean, we've been through this level, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, like 20 times. So this is like our 20th time visiting 26611. And that's going to drive people nuts. And every time it goes higher than it, we're going back, and then we're going lower. And like you're just seeing time capitulation play out.
Yeah.
I saw a funny post yesterday. I thought it was funny from Arthur Hayes. I mean, the guy's a shit poster through and through. He's smart, articulate. Even when you read his essays, like they're filled with like shit posting kind of commentary too. And so when he like made that tweet yesterday, we should just pull it up. I loved it. I thought it was funny. I only saw it because Chewbacca hit me up. He's like, "Yo, did you see that?" But yeah, he tweeted this out. "Did you get hacked, Arthur?" "No, I got wrecked." And then like links to like a Telegram wrecked game bot, something that's apparently listing on the 19th. So he's like, promoting for some shitcoin. And I don't know. I thought it's funny. I can't imagine he needs the money from anything like that. He's probably doing it just to do whatever the fuck he's doing. But like psyops. But look at the comments. Scummiest shit ever. Hacked. Like, you fucking clown. It's also tiresome. You're the poorest rich man I know. Like, it's anger, buddy. It's anger.
People
just
seem upset.
They're so upset. And the guy, like, now look, turn this around. Late 2017, late 2021, mid bull, late bull, and Arthur shit posts like this. And everyone just like bookmarks them, puts them on notifications. Like, yeah, he's gonna pull my bags. Let's go. I'm gonna get some wrecked coin. Like, it'd be all fun and games because everyone's making money. This is only hitting the way it's hitting because, and it is scummy to have a big account and tweet out like shit coins like that. But like nobody gives a shit when things are good. So this is the biggest sign you need of where we're at in the cycle.
It's just funny. It's
anger.
weird, dude.
It's weird. And I thought it was funny, but the anger levels were so high. I thought that was a really strong tell. I'm gonna look it up. What's that cheat sheet? Wall Street cheat sheet.
Oh yeah, the anger phase, right? Or depression.
Anger phase. Yeah, let's go get it.
I saw a tweet. I've seen
for the
multiple
cheat sheet.
tweets. I've seen multiple tweets like CBS and Adam saying like, "Oh, it's hilarious how much TradFi has outperformed crypto this year." And I was like, "The year?" Because didn't we go from 15K to 30 something K? Like,
yeah.
Did SPX double and I missed it? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. It's been you know what? That's the funny thing too, is like if you look, well, now I've covered up the chart, but if you just look at Bitcoin, I mean, we're up on the year. And so
yeah, by
a lot. So the same thing, and that's not like, it's probably annoys people. I know it's up, but I'm down. Because like, here's the thing. Let's walk through it. Let's walk through how you could possibly be mad at a time like this. I don't even know where the tool is that I'm looking for. Where do I measure price range? There we go. So like, if you just bought the perfect bottom, you're up 72% on your Bitcoin. If you bought a reasonable breakout level, which I actually did, you're up 56% on the.
Yeah.
So you've had a good year if you just bought and held Bitcoin, but that's not what we do, right? And
SPX
so
did what, like 10% off the lows? Like, what did it do?
yeah, no, a lot. And Nasdaq had its best year it has ever had, I think.
Oh, really?
I don't know like about right now, but when it was at its highs, it was having something like its most like
But
its
even then,
biggest rally
what
for a
percentage are
period.
we talking about here?
Well, let's see. Like January 1st is probably where you want to go. So January 3rd, market's open. It peaked at 48%.
That's pretty wild.
That's insane.
But
for
it's
the
still
NASDAQ.
like even,
and it's still at like 41% on the
but
year.
even at its
Year to
highs,
date.
doesn't beat where Bitcoin is off the same relative low
Yeah.
now.
Well, let's see. Yeah, if you go to January, as close to Jan 1st as you can get, you're 61%. So Bitcoin outperformed the NASDAQ by a little bit.
And that's our most
33%.
boring asset in the whole ecosystem. Like if you look at Inge, it's still up like 3x from the lows.
Yeah. And so here's the thing. First of all, everybody's out around here, like the emotional crowd anyways. They're gone. And somewhere through this, they capitulate back in and then they get their shit fed to them. So they capitulate again because this was USDC FUD weekend. This was a scary time. It lasted a few days. The banks were failing. Like it was pretty nasty. And then Bitcoin goes, "Oh, banks failing? I'm a hedge against that." And through this chop, people get driven insane. They're on the edge of their seat. They can't believe it. They're FOMOing, but they say, "I'm not buying." And then it starts to break out. So they all FOMO and they say, "Okay, fine. We're going to 42K." No, eat some more shit. Nah, eat some more shit. And then it's just 3 months of like, I knew it. I'm never buying Bitcoin again. Oh my God, BlackRock ETF.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, this year is not, if you're an emotional, I don't have a plan guy, then you're not up 56%. You're down because you kept buying all these highs and getting puked on the lows.
Well, also like people are buying narratives with crazy targets. Like,
yeah,
it's like, which is like in a bull market, like you're rewarded for that behavior. But
which is usually where everyone's born, right? We're all born in the bull because we're all drawn into the bull. So if it's all you've ever known,
yeah,
it's usual. And that's where that 2-year bear market really gets to you, right? Because at least through this, I mean, this sucked, but it was like, first of all, if you had been around through the whole bull, you still had some good money through this. You're probably still feeling some of the effects of the cushiness you had achieved through that. But also like you could be in a short and making some really good money or whatever. Or you just sell the cash and then the downside like feels really juicy because your cash is up. But this is insanity. Like this is where you just like, again, we're just sitting at the same price we sat at in March 2020. Like we're just here and
dude,
we're chilling.
And scary. This GanFan Black Magic you use, what does it say now? What does it look like?
Well, we just came into a horizontal, so we came up, smacked it again, failed, and now it's just just teleporting down. This line is just mine. So we're in this arc, which can act as support and resistance the same way it did here. Support. Oh, failed, resistance. Smack down, resistance again, move through it slowly. So at this point, there's a GAN that's more recent, which is this one. This one's kind of freaky. Look at this thing.
Yeah.
Right. So you draw this by just dragging it up from here.
Dude.
Yeah. So you draw it from here to here. That's how it's created, just using those two pivots. And then it spits out the rest. And right away it got to work and putting in this arc, which is kind of creepy. Like that
will never again fade the exotic TA tool.
This is just one tool. It's a GANFan. It's like the scratching the surface of this guy's analysis field, but it's really trippy stuff. Anyways, and then we kind of rode that up, and then we're just riding this trend line. But this is the freaky part now. It's like we just come into this arc again, and it's like you shall not pass.
Yeah.
So I am still watching this loading dock, this cost of production. When you're looking at commodities as a golden rule, cost of production is the floor. It's the bottom. It's the place where, like, if you're paying that much to produce that asset, you're not going to sell it for less than that amount. So therefore, there's no more sellers at that level. And so Beamish will just keep drilling this into your head. It's like cost of production, and it'll keep ticking up over time. But it's typically where the most aggressive and ridiculous sell-offs bottom. Whether that's even here, didn't quite touch it on the March crash. But yeah, according to this indicator, we've never tested cost of production, but I have seen many times certain indicators where we have. So I
Right.
don't know if I'm not going to set bids at 19,739, but I put this on here as like a confluence. One of these things about this Gann square that is the most value, I guess you could get from it, is just this purple line. It's called 8-to-1. It's the 8-to-1 angle, and buying anywhere along there in a Gann square typically is your best buy zone. So
what level do you think it'll be at if it hits it?
And that's the thing. So when it intercepts it, it depends like on the price. I'm leaning my base case. I was just live yesterday, so I talked about this already. But like my base case is that we get an approval of the ETFs, one, and that approval comes in sometime early January before this deadline.
The delay is till later this month.
Yeah, there's a few timelines in between that, but I do think that they would stretch it to the max while also not. Here, I'll pull it up. Stretch it to the max without actually going through. So we have the final deadline. The first final deadline is January 10th, which is why I highlighted that on the chart here. So my take is that we get through tax selling season. Maybe there's like a end of year, turn over the new calendar year. January 1st, I mean, it just tends to be such a good investment window in general in crypto, is like the early weeks of January. And for whatever reason, other than at the end of a bull market, where obviously that's the top. But yeah, I love the January investment window. It's what I'm looking at for this cash. I've got and
nice.
Yes, Caesar.
Let's go.
We're turning up tonight at this house. And we've got the shares ARK ETF deadline Jan 10th. So it all kind of makes sense to me that we would just have I don't see any reason for this market to run away before the end of the year. Let's just
I saw a great tweet the other day where someone was like, a spot ETF is a vehicle for demand. It does not create demand.
Yeah, I saw that. That was horse. I thought that was an interesting take. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, where are we with like the sentiment of the ETF? Where people are either like, it's bearish or I don't care. And I thought that was an interesting extension of that. Like, it's true. It is a vehicle for demand, but it's being created because there is an underlying demand. It's being created because Fink believes that by creating it, they can make a lot of money. And I would say there is guaranteed to be a handful of people, and then we could just argue about how many, but like, how much assets they have under management? 11 trillion or something.
Well, it's like it is the spot ETF for the people who already demand, exposure.
Mm-hmm.
They get their exposure. They don't need a spot ETF to get exposure. They've been getting exposure for over a decade. And
over a decade.
Yeah. 2009 Bitcoin was created, right?
Oh, yeah, no. That's a silly comment. Like, the demand that exists now is not anything to do with 2009.
What I mean to say is that like the ways that the people right now, the people who are still around, who actually are interested in bidding this thing, their method of getting exposure has been around for a decade. Right? You can buy it. You can buy the asset, right? And so
no, that's way too bearish, dude. I think that's way too bearish. Like, to say, well, it's just a new vehicle for demand. All the demand is currently being met. Like, I just don't agree with that. I think custody solutions, insurance are important. Regulated institutions.
I'm not saying there won't be vehicle demand. That's not at all what I'm saying.
No, I know. I'm not even saying, you're not even saying it. It's this tweet from Horse, but like, I don't really get into it on Twitter at all with anyone as a rule, but like, yeah, I thought that was way too bearish. I mean, I get his point though. He was like, the idea of people sitting in their little rocket ships, like, okay, once the ETF goes live, we're just gonna It's not gonna be like that. I imagine it'll be slow and gradual, but the fact is there are trillions of dollars of assets out there. There is an emerging asset class that is Bitcoin and crypto. And they thus far do not have regulated rails to get in. Yes, they have CME futures. Yes, there are some spot ETFs in other countries. I own some spot ETF in Toronto's stock exchange. Like, it's regulated. So they do exist, but there's a huge swath of capital that would like that exposure, I think, that does not yet have the access point to it that they are comfortable with. That's the key piece. Yeah, you can go to Binance and buy it, but not with my $5 million trust fund. Like,
I guess what I'm saying is
No.
that like I don't believe that those people who need the spot ETF as a vehicle are rock bottom bear market buyers. I think they're interested, like, you know, like
They'll buy it at
after
50K,
right, exactly. That's what I'm
which
saying.
is where it'll be in the next couple of years,
Yes.
regardless of how much demand
Yeah.
comes out of this announcement
So
of
I'm
this spot ETF.
what I'm saying is like it will enable
Mhm.
a larger inflow than we had last cycle.
Monster inflow, dude.
Yeah,
It's gonna
I
be
just don't think
monstrous.
that inflow comes at like bear market rock bottom.
No,
You know what I mean?
dude.
So
No.
like even if we get an
Yeah.
approval, then it's going to take a little bullishness and reinflating of the asset before they're going to get in through that spot ETF.
I 100% agree. So if that ETF, like the other thing is, let's just say it does do something like this, like like, you know, we end up down here through the end of the year. Okay, whatever. Like, oh, ETF approved. Like, that's just not how markets move.
Right.
Right. You need to build a base. You need to have consolidation. You need to, you know, there has to be structure. You know, it's just not likely to go up only. So nobody's suggesting that. I am simply pointing out that this is, you know, more about what I'll do if it gets down here, which is to buy. There's an ABC harmonic target right at like 20, like right
Which
at this,
harmonic pattern?
just an ABCD, like a super basic
Oh,
one.
okay. Yeah.
I think it's off
Not an
here.
XABC.
No, nothing crazy. The only one I pay attention to is this basic one, but you basically just do this.
Yeah.
I was looking at this yesterday on stream, and it's just interesting that it aligns pretty much to point with like
A nice
the edge of this arc as
Yeah.
well. Oh, it's probably should line up properly. But like, yeah, the edge of this arc right on the 618. So like, this is an area where I get very interested in just deploying cash and then sitting, because you can't expect the market to turn around too quickly either, right? So even last time you had, if you take out this COVID crash, which arguably was an anomaly, although a lot of people I know were like, had nothing to do with COVID. That was just this and that. But point is, I don't believe them.
I don't think it's an anomaly. Like, of course, it had everything to do with COVID and the reaction to it. I just don't think it's as uncommon as people think.
Yeah, well, BTC Jack Sparrow, I'll just call him out here. It was his analysis. He basically said we're going to need a mega crash to end this bear market before we can go up. So he was calling for this kind of event well before COVID, well before, just from like more of a order flow technicals kind of level. So when it came, he was kind of like, there it is. And then everyone's like, it's COVID. He's like, nah, it was just kind of like whatever needed to happen happened. We could debate for the ages like exactly what caused it. Obviously, it was the headlines that caused a lot of people to sell, and then it was the over leveraging of the system that caused it to collapse. But the point is, this was a fat accumulation range, and even after the halvening, which I think came like right around here, was it May that year, and you know, it kind of dumped after, and then, but like I remember this was like such a painful time. Like this
just seemed like up only to me.
This was a nasty squeeze. Like this was May until like late July of just no movement. And then this particular like 12 to 15 days here, I remember it was just like, like you look on crypto Twitter and it was just like, you know, bone saw. Like it was just terrible. And then, you know, and then even this, like this was not easy to be on board this fucking rally. So point being, you know, maybe you get your ETF approval here. Yeah. Like the fish don't come in to swim until it's up to 50K or whatever. So yeah, I'm not calling for like an insta permable once that thing gets launched, but it's certainly going to set the stage for the biggest bull market Bitcoin has ever seen. From a volume,
the biggest one,
net volume and net like liquidity inflow.
Right.
Maybe not percentage returns because it used to be a 10-cent coin, but yeah, from like growth.
Yeah, I buy that. But man, like I remember sniping 4,500 on BTC during that COVID crash, and like I don't know if it was because I wasn't paying nearly. It probably was that, but I wasn't paying nearly as much attention. But it just seemed like I didn't notice that wedge you just drew. You know, like it didn't occur to me that it was like not just going up only. It seemed like it was up only to me.
Yeah, like it was just on this really slow trend. And that's one of my favorite things to think about in the market is this idea of like gradually and then suddenly.
Yeah.
Right. So when you just see this like base starting to form and it's like it's gradual and then it's sudden. And that is true of so many things, just like Moore's law and exponential growth and adoption of technology, like gradually and then suddenly. And so what we're seeing now,
the old knee of the curve, as
I
they
mean,
say.
I still think the lows are in back here. And so like the bear market is over in the sense that, you know, we're not necessarily going to see new lows, but it's still just like a gradually, like whatever this looks like, but then, you know, and then it's like, oh, as soon as everyone's just sick of it, and you can feel people getting sick of it as you look around and online, and you could just feel it. People are sick of it. And yeah, I've tried to help put in the bottom by switching over to sports betting very publicly, you know, be like, remember that time, what's his name? Pomp switched to like selling mattresses during the bear market. Like,
it's just funny because you didn't even do it at like probably what will end up being the most boring or most agonizing part. Like you got in early so that you can.
Yeah, well, I did it when the hockey season started, and to be fair, on my friend tech thing, I was talking about it for weeks. I was like, oh, can't wait for NHL. I'm going to start a thread and do some sports betting. So now it's starting. Yeah, I don't know. I think at the bottom. Let me tell you two things that happened right here. I applied to become a teacher.
Nice.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going back to school just like as a supply. Like I was like, I'm going to show up as a sub, like, you know, a couple times a month just to get out of the house because it's so awful. And at that same, like, it wasn't about making money. Like I'll never go back to making $100 a day to do that. Like I'm not near that level yet, but it was more like I need to get out of the house. And then during that same week, that's when Messi was on his Twitter saying like, hey, I'm taking everything out. I'm going to the bank with everything. No stablecoin is safe. You know, everybody out. And so you have your like two staunch, like resident bulls of this channel, but in generally like on Twitter too, like guys that are just balls deep in this stuff forever, like taking fairly significant moves in their lives to leave. Not like he was like, I'm never coming back. And I certainly was going to be around. I was just going to try to get like some part-time gigs. Just to sit for sanity's sake. But it's amazing. Within the same week, we both did that. And then we're not alone. Like there was probably like a fairly large exodus of behaviors like that. And it's the same way that you'll probably have gotten like a huge number of people taking up mortgages on their houses within a 1 week period. That is the top. It's insane. And it's like, that's what causes tops, but it's just fascinating stuff, dude. Yeah. So we'll see what kind of behavior we get down here at whatever.
That's why you're so confident it's the low, because you were like, I'd be, you know.
Well, that's it. That's totally it. Like the behavior piece there was so extreme that I can't imagine a more extreme thing. Now, that's not to say I'm 100% certain, but I would put it upwards of 95, 96% that like we just don't get lower than that for Bitcoin. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Now I could be wrong, and we can cross that bridge when we get to it. Play from position of strength, you know, don't sell the house kind of shit. But I would very confidently say that we're just not going to see newer lows.
It's pretty funny that like we had this pivot of like, because like I think Don Alt was calling for like 40K, and a bunch of people were calling for 31, and then we got this pivot that everyone's so down about, like right as the SBF trial is kicking up. It kind of is like an echo of last year, you know.
Here's the thing too. Like Brian was saying this too. Like through this Q4, he came on the show a month ago, and he's like, "Yeah, you've got an SBF trial coming up. Like crypto's just not going to be a happy story for a while, and it's certainly not going to be a happy story during the largest fraud in history's court case." So you can't look at Q4 and say like, you know, October and I wanted to rally. And I was certainly thinking through this, like we would get our right shoulder as like a best case scenario. It looks like we've just put that in and we're cooked. So it didn't go as high as maybe it could have, like 30, 29, whatever, but that's what we get. And yeah, it's just crypto's not a happy story right now, and it's not going to be. And here's the other thing. We don't need to make new lows to shake everybody out, right? If the purpose of the market or the reason it's going lower is to get the sellers out, you know, it's going lower because people are selling. There's more sellers than buyers. It's going to keep going lower until those sellers run out. and there's only holders and buyers left. When we find that equilibrium, we stop and we move higher. Yes, that's 101 markets. But as you described, everyone is already so wrecked right here, like mentally. And so as you say that, it makes me realize too that like we don't need new lows to run out of sellers. We're going to run out of sellers like right here, because anyone who's going to sell, who's like on the edge and just like, oh my God, they're already being tortured. And we're going to break 25K, and then we're going to collapse for like 3 days and chill, and then collapse again, chill. And everyone's just going to be like, that's it. One more low and I'm fucking done. And then it's going to be bink bottom. And we're just going to chill and move forward. And so, yeah, further to the point of like, we're not going to see new lows. We don't need to see new lows. I think we ran out of sellers down here. We're going to run out of sellers at a higher low somewhere in the next 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Hey, I saw today that you kind of got me back for the CFX short that I voted you out of.
Oh no, what'd you do? What did I do to you?
I was like kind of interested in, it was like a month and a half ago, I was looking at alts that were like nearing their lows again.
Oh God.
And one of them was Canto. Pull it up.
Oh, I don't want a victory lap.
You got me, dude. Hey, it's only right.
Oh. What did I tell you not to buy it?
You were just like
something I would do.
I was talking about how it's getting near its lows. Same with like there was a few others that was a good idea not to long. So I can't say it was like a pure call like CFX was for you. But this one was getting down there, and I was like, I don't know, like it just had that really crazy rally, and I don't think it's toast. You were like, yeah, but you kind of want to wait for some structure to form. Like,
yeah.
I was like, yeah,
which by the way is good advice.
No, it is good advice.
So in the CFX situation, I think you were just shit posting, throwing darts at my face, but
I was just bullish on China coins at that time.
Which is funny because I was too. Yeah. For context, guys, we're gonna go there now. You got to go check it out. This is what we're talking about, just so we're not being too weird. Yeah, I wanted to short
out of shorting the Pico top.
Yeah, I wanted to short this coin because I was convinced it had already had its like Elliott waves. Even if it's not real Elliott waves, the point is it had its 3 waves up, then it had its like ABC correction started.
Wait, there's a version of Elliott waves that's real?
Yeah, exactly. Somebody said that. They're like, well, you can't because the third wave didn't do this. I'm like, okay, it doesn't matter. The fact is it was like a full cycle of a coin and the whole rest of the market. And I was like, yo, I felt like we could short this. And even if the rest of the market keeps going up, this thing's cooked because it's cooked. And yeah, I had bids or asks like all through here. Right. And my stop loss was 45 cents. It never got touched. So I filled theoretically a monster position. Which would have hedged my entire portfolio like 2-3x and been just cooking. And my boy here got me all fired up about it. He's like, nah, man, she's going way higher. And then that
China coins.
I let it. It's my fault. I'm an adult male, but I let it sit in the back of my head. I am an adult identifiable male. Cis male. No, I don't know what that means. I really don't know what that means. So if that means I'm transgender, you just remind me to look things up before I say them. But yeah, kind of like subtly talk me out of it. It's okay. I've long forgiven you. I forgot about it. But to his point, he's like, he was sitting here trying to get some Canto, and I probably said something like, buy the W. And then instead of buying the W, he didn't buy the W, which was right here, and now is blaming me because he didn't follow my advice.
There's another W there, too.
He's trying to turn this into a similar thing, guys. I just want to say, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen at home,
it was like one of 5 charts, and the rest of them like made new lows. So
yeah, it's not. Yeah, and so that's a really good point that I was talking about yesterday. Like, you can find winners right now. It's just hard. And then I think looking back someday, you'll also agree that it was not only hard, but kind of stupid to like, just to even try. I mean, Maple, really good example, beautiful TRI style setup here with the higher lows, and all the momentums were making higher lows. Excuse me, this one's making lower lows in price. Then you had this like really sweet SR flip W breakout, and even the dip right after to like fill up PCZ, whatever you want. Like this was just a classic long setup. And it hit, and it's still going. It's been cooking since friggin' late September, but it's just not the market for it. And so for every one of these you might have hit, maybe right now I'm getting paid $3 for every dollar I risked. I'm probably on the other side, like those other 5 coins you mentioned, like just getting stopped at.
Yeah.
And so it's those weird, odd winners like Canto in this case that maybe make you stay at the trough, keep you at the table, losing money. So it is really hard. It's really boring. And I hate to be the guy, but I am trying harder than anything, more than anything, just to sit on this cash. It's not even a whole lot of cash. It's a lot less than I would have liked to have had. It's a lot less than I could have had, but it is what I have. And it's enough in an environment where things are breaking out and buy volumes bubbling everywhere, and new narratives are emerging, and shiny new toys are emerging, and the SPX and NASDAQ are breaking into new highs. Global liquidity is increasing. Like when that environment returns, and it will, I want to deploy this cash aggressively, and I want to not have that wrecked mentality of just having continually like losing for years. And I think that's what people are getting sucked into if you're not careful. So I want to just keep coming on here week after week talking about that, because it's important. And I think it's very easy to even say, oh yeah, cool. And then you go home and like 2 weeks later you're trading again. And you're like, oh fuck, I have to wait.
I would say that like my biggest savior this year was deciding to not take my cash out of my bank account and instead start a challenge account. Because it kept me, it got to a point, and it is still at a point where I really like feel like this is actually my stack. Like this is all the deployable capital I have. And then just grinding it up. It's like fun. It's engaging. It keeps me busy, and it gets me using a lot of tools and staying sharp, but without like risking, the boat.
Yeah. And I tried that and I just couldn't do it. I don't know. Like I got into a bad place with trading. Like I got spoiled. I got spoiled by Wonderland. I got spoiled by some projects. Like,
yeah,
when you're just sitting on something that just prints obscene amounts of money every day and you're doing nothing, and then the underlying principle is going up too. Like it's really hard to go back to like a total like walk in the park, not even walk in the park, like the dark, what is it? The dark Ethereum woods, like where where every setup is just totally random based on technicals, and you could win or you could lose. That mentality is really hard for me to reclaim in the wake of things like, where you're just getting these crazy money printers that we had going. And I think I tie it back to Wonderland in particular, like kind of messed up my ability to just take proper risk because it was so fucking easy. And I'm trying to get back to that. I did some really good trading through the start of the year, and I caught some really nice leverage longs through these big moves. I think I really caught like a good chunk of all of the main moves, but then spent a lot of time in between giving it back. And so I'm up, a good amount on the year. If I had this as a yearly income, I think I'd be pretty comfortable. But the amount of effort I put into it and then the amount I gave back, obviously not ideal. And the lack of making any money shorting, very obvious, good setups, it's not ideal. And it just, again, it speaks to that. So yeah, I'm just like, I'm doing the sports betting thing because I'm enjoying it. It gives me a rush, and it's like super low stakes, like $100 bets. You make 5 of them, you're risking 500 Canadian dollars. Like it's so much of a different vibe than like putting on like a 400K, like 10 Bitcoin long or whatever it is. Like, and then, yeah, like the market's not going anywhere. I think if anything, it's just coming closer to where I want it. So
now it's right where
I do need to go back and like set up, a trade account and like get that going too, and get that, figured out. Like I don't want to just go from like not been trading for a long time into like a bull market kind of feel. But let's look at this real quick, because as much as people like to meme it and we joke about it and it's kind of an engagement grabber, it's real and it exists and it's pretty fucking identifiable and it's pretty fucking reliable. So we're gonna take a quick look at it. Anger. So here's the thing people often don't get. is you have to look at this. I'm going to just try to find like a big, okay. You know what? I put this on my BTC chart here. Okay. We'll go here. You have to also understand there's cycles within cycles. That's what I'm trying to say here. My God, can a man get a clean chart in his house? Fuck it. I'm going to delete everything. Okay. There's cycles within cycles. Okay. He'll do it live. So like this is the cycle, the big one, right? But I would argue that there's a cycle of just this year as well. Like you could apply this Wall Street cheat sheet to this whole thing, which is probably the best way to do it. Like the most macro, that's the official, but like there's definitely a little cycle playing out within this year as well, because you had a complete exodus of the market and then you had new entrants into the market, and they are now going through those psychological phases in its own little nutshell. So you have to think in terms of, I guess, where we are in this, but also then where we are within the year. And those are two different answers. Both of them are pretty angry though. Let's be honest. I wonder if I can move this back. It's like send to back. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh, nice. Get some overlays. Oh,
that's fire.
So I don't know. Can we? Yeah, it's kind of hard to see, but so for this year, yeah, it's actually just really distracting. I'm gonna get rid of that. For this year, I think so what do we got? Complacency, euphoria, anxiety. God damn it. So I should have this all marked out, but like, yeah. Complacency, euphoria, anxiety, denial, panic is incoming. So panic is incoming, followed by anger and depression, and then it's like disbelief rally, and then it's like thing. Like that's kind of my take for this, is that the panic is not here yet. For this, the panic last cycle, or for the bigger cycle, was very identifiable. It was here. You can see it. It's pretty obvious. And then we're just kind of already in the anger phase. Yeah. So for this year, I think that's okay. Conclusion. For this year, I think we're heading towards panic very quickly. I don't think anyone's panicking yet. But in the higher time frames, zooming out to the whole thing, I think we're well into the anger phase, and we're heading into depression, because that's likely. Come on, like that's what we're going to see. Yeah. If we break down from here and get into this kind of area, this kind of, oh God, okay, here we go. Getting organized. We're going to see depression down here. Right? Everyone holding on right now, still kind of shit posting, having a half good time, but they know secretly they're just losing money, and it's really depressing. They're kind of angry, but they're like, yeah, we're holding 25K. ETF's coming. Halving's coming. You break down from here, get some panic, and followed by a low volatility period of just total death and awfulness. There's your depression. And that's the point of maximum financial opportunity. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. I got to agree with you there.
So I'm going to deploy all this cash through that, whether or not the story's changed at that point, and I feel like less confident in the future of crypto. And that's why I make this chart. That's why I make this plan, because it's really hard in the moment. If you haven't got a plan, you're probably selling that dip. Let's be honest. Right? Your plan was to not even have that dip, and now it's happening, and you're like, I must be wrong. Everything's wrong. I'm gonna sell.
Well, it's the fault of all these people who are like, bear market's over. That's it. We're in a full bull now. It's like, yeah, that's the kind of narrative that gets you like holding on to spot through like an obvious down wave, and then capitulating at the bottom. Like,
yeah, the bottom comes in when you capitulate. That's why everyone's like, it's so crazy. I always seem to sell the bottom. It's like, bro, the bottom was the bottom because you sold.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're a seller, and you can't bottom until sellers sell.
It's like, there's maxims that have held true the whole time that this space has been around, and they're just so lasting and obvious. They just take a long time. But even the times they take are pretty telegraphed. Like you kind of know, like there's cycle theory to guide you, and
it's not, yeah. And the cycle theory counts until it doesn't.
You still see people who have been here forever saying like, well, I don't know if the happening will matter. or maybe we'll get a little rally. And then you see people who've been here for multiple cycles saying like the bear market's over. This is actually the bull market, even though we're like a year out from the halving. And it's just weird to watch that happen to people, because it's like, dude, like you've seen this play out multiple times. Like, what are you doing?
We've seen this story before.
Yeah.
And I go back repeatedly to Brian's analysis, because he has seen this before. He's been running his trade school through one cycle. He's been running his trade plan through 2 cycles, and he's been paying attention since 2015, longer than I have. So he's a fairly rational guy, and he's just kind of sitting here like, like the best thing about the TRI trade pit thing is like you go in there and it's like every day is just a day at the office. Price is where it is. Price is going where it's going. There's a trade to be had, or there's not a trade to be had. Like there's none of this like doom and gloom and euphoria. Like it's very much muted emotions in that channel, and it's a really good place to go to get like a rational take. And so I do tune into his daily briefs like once a week or more if I can, and just kind of like take it in, because he'll just be sitting there like, like, you know, I've seen this story before. We're just coming through this last part of the cycle, this up and down like a horse drawers, you know, like he has all his Brianisms, but at the end of the day, he's like, nothing's different. Absolutely nothing's different. In fact, 364 days from the high to the low, 364 days from the high to the low, it's eerily similar. And then you just look and say, okay, then what can we expect? Well, if you want to look at the hash ribbons, which is what we've got up here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 signals that came through the accumulation. And then one last one came to signal the breakout. So kind of it. And we got one down here at the lows, which I guess would be equivalent there. Got one here. So you could expect, you know, if you wanted to use this. Now, this has a lot to do with like miners and capitulation. So maybe we don't get the same capitulations or whatever. I don't know. But I would expect at least one more buy signal to fire. Because look, as price goes down, more miners become unprofitable. The less efficient mining machines get turned off. Hash rate drops, hash ribbons fire, a capitulation signal, which is the lesser talked about one, which is right here, right? And so, yeah, as price pukes through these levels, I expect it to puke through, we should see a minor capitulation. And then once they come back online at enough or whatever, the difficulty corrects. I don't know how the hash ribbons works, but once that kind of sorts itself out, we should get another buy signal. So I would expect at least one more down in here, probably 2. And given how similar these cycles have been in many ways, I wouldn't be shocked if we just get 4 total, same as last time, and then work our way up. But one thing I kind of concluded yesterday is like there's 2 levels which I'm basically just going to plow my cash into the market. And that's either right down here, which is like 19 to 21K range. And I'll figure out exactly how to splice that up as we approach it, or up here. And those are like the 2 investable levels. It's kind of like, okay, here's the most like maximal reward, risk reward buying window. Even arguably as low as 17.5 would be like this weekly W breakout level. But
it can't go lower than that.
Well, it shouldn't. If it's bullish, it shouldn't. And if it does, you know, then it's like, oops, wrong. Reset, you know, reconsider your life choices. And then you're wrong, or you have another trade set up or investment level up here above these 30s. I think if we get up there, probably just moving.
Yeah. I'll say there is 2 cycle theory maxims that were invalidated over this last bull and bear, which is blow off top and then never below last cycle high.
Yeah.
But to me, that just seems like maturity, flattening of the curve, you know, kind of stuff, where it's like, yeah, if you have an or if you have a monotonically increasing function that just decreases in percentage over time, then you would expect eventually like blow off tops and volatility should be muted, and you should expect to eventually, go back below one of those peaks.
Yeah, like just kind of flattens out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I remember hearing, do you remember hearing about how this was like a manipulation rally? It was like, this is where the bull market ended, but this was all just a manipulation, which I always think, Like,
It's like, hey
okay,
man,
like, I don't
price
even-
went higher, so I don't know
Yeah.
what the fuck you're
I
talking.
don't really care what caused it to go up. People bought it, unless people sold it. Like prices
This
never
was
went up.
the lower price was the actual top. Like what?
Yeah.
What are you saying?
So I don't know what the point of that was, if not just to be like the demand left the market here, and then like a small core group of interests like pushed it higher just to get everyone like
That's
frothy.
actually mathematically impossible.
Well, then we saw the 3AC thing where we all, it was like they manipulated it so they could short it, and then we found out that all the people we thought were maneuvering the market to their will were actually losing money and went bankrupt.
Yeah.
Like 3AC and FTX Alameda in particular. So, if Alameda sent the market up there so they could short it, they did a piss poor job of being in front of that.
Yeah, dude.
I don't know what that's all about, but
What's
tell you what, I'll be a monkey's uncle if we don't see 20K by the time this thing's done.
yeah.
And am I going to short it? It's at 26.6. Do I have a short position on? No. Got a good cash position. As I talk about this, I do feel, it's a red week, so it's very easy to feel confident in that. But I really want to be short at some point if we're going to have that mega panic. Like, it'd be nice to make some money, but I'm not trying too hard about that.
SFrax SDI Curve USD strat thing going around?
No.
So right now you can get exposure to T-bills via staked DAI because makers.
I did hear about that.
Yeah. So Frax is trying to do the same thing. And because of the lending market with Curve, you can loop that. So you could get leveraged exposure to T-bill yield.
Ooh.
And someone reposted it, like someone talking about the strategy, they reposted it and they were like, there's no way this ends well.
Yeah, that sounds like the beginning of a bad story.
Yeah.
But that's pretty cool. T-bills, cash is king right now. You could argue, a lot of people would agree, cash is cool again. The yields are up. I keep talking to people over various spaces I speak to, and they're like, oh yeah, like 5-6% of my GIC, like let's go. There's nothing wrong with that.
So excited about it.
I know, but like between now and when this stops sucking, that 5% might be really cool. My only problem with that is like, I don't really want yield in my cash. Like I just want no risk on my cash. Banks, you can get 5-6%, but then you're like 48-hour and 30-day withdrawal windows. I'm like, nah, dude, I need my cash in a place where I can create a bid in under 4 seconds. Like, there's too much at stake in the future of this asset class for me to be like on the sideline. I'm already feeling like I'm taking a lot of risk just by being on the sideline right now.
Yeah.
In the absence of new drivers, you can find that I find the technicals work really well. Like they start to work almost better because there's no other reason to trade to any level or whatever. And so you get these like ABCDs that just play out. This thing, what was that? Played out to within a couple bucks, I would say. Really nice ABCD.
Yeah.
So as much as I'm not trading right now, in a weird way, it's like you said, I think maybe just trading up like a little shit account, like put in like
do it, dude.
5% of your
it's
normal
like
account, and you can just play.
I went from 2 to 70 in the first half of the year, and then I took the 70 off of KuCoin because they were KYCing, and I split it between a shitload of wallets because, and I'm probably mistaken now that now I'm at a place where I'm like, this is probably wrong, but I thought, well, I can try out all of the perp dexes and also simultaneously farm potential airdrops. I don't think any of these perp dexes are actually going to be giving rewards like that, so that was kind of misguided. But
you never know. I wouldn't count it out.
Yeah. But
if one does and it's successful, the others will follow.
Exactly. Yeah. And at
idea.
Each of my wallets had like 5K in it when I split them. And then now like a majority of them are hovering between 10 and 15.
Nice.
So it's fun. It's fun to like go back down to small size and then like just like scalp, because when you get that reward emotionally,
Yeah, well, you still get the win. Like, and that's the weird thing for me. Like, trading is not as much. Like, if I'm used to longing like 10 to 25 to 50 Bitcoin slugs on like shorter time frame scalps, And then I try to go down to like longing like half to one Bitcoin. Like it doesn't do it for me. It almost feels like go outside and play. Like I'd rather just do something else.
Right.
And that's so I've struggled to regain the excitement of like a more reasonable stake. But the funny thing, like poker, sports betting, if I go sit down at like a 5-5 cash and I sit down with $1,000 Canadian, so it's like 700 US, I'm flying, dude. I'm all in, and I'm just like boom, 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 boom. Like it's like it might as well be $1 million.
That's weird.
The stakes haven't changed because I used to play when I was younger, and I had $300 to my name, and then I was like sitting in with 200.
That's
And
what it
so
is for
it's
me.
like I'm
It's
programmed,
tapping
yeah.
into a more youthful energy of like, man, like, turning 5K into 15K, like was exciting for me, not like 5-7 years ago, so
Yeah.
you get those vibes again.
I watched, I don't know where I saw this. Some kind of, oh, you know what? I think it was I watched like one of the Reload Zone videos that I made for this channel, and I guess I said something that referenced something that was like something to do with like sizing. And I just remember thinking back, like, yeah, damn, like that was a lot's changed since I made that video. It went from like maybe like a 25-30K portfolio to many multiples of that. So the mindset's changed.
Yeah.
And now I want to go back to that. Now,
Tap back into it.
We're
might
broke
take,
again.
like,
So
2
now we've
weeks
got to
of-
go, I can't be taking 10, 20, and 50 Bitcoin positions. Like if I want to trade well, I've got to start off and play like 1 to 5.
If you're taking 5 to 10 trades a week,
Yeah.
using just range, like, intraday stuff, and maybe it takes you 2-3 weeks to feel like it's not boring again, but it does return. Like I promise you, it comes back, like that feeling of like,
So
you don't even notice it.
Yeah, let me show you. So that's what I'm getting from this, and I think it is going to transition. Can you guys see that? Like this is me getting back to like brass tacks, low stake tracking, right? Single bets, like doing my bets. I found this thing comes with all these crazy formulas built in. Some guy like shared it on Reddit years ago. So it's got really cool formulas. It's going to be a good stat tracker, and I can get my little up and to the right curve, hopefully.
Yeah.
And this is getting me back into like even just the habits of like sitting down each morning, checking which bets won. There's some late games I don't watch. Then I input my data, put a little post out on the thread. And then tonight, like after the stream, actually, I'll go look at tonight's card and I'll make some bets. And that's just getting in back. This is why I wanted to go all out with this, because like I want to get back into that process. And absolutely, I need to then transition that over to trading again. There's a particular decks that I'm waiting on that I want to like really start off with building on Hxro Network. And so like in my mind, I'm kind of like, well, when that comes out, I know I'm going to be starting to trade again. So I'm going to like, wait for that. But until then, I'm just trying to stay at the office, like productive and so I chose the sports betting because hockey's coming back. But yeah, you're right, dude. I got to just take like a small account and start, because it does. I think what you said today that kind of made me think was, maybe the first 10 trades, you're not that excited because it's a small amount, but then you start to like recalibrate yourself to this account and it becomes your new reality. And then it becomes as exciting and, worth your time.
Yeah. And
of
then
course,
you have a new threshold of excitement. So you can go
Yeah.
full mania.
Yeah, well, I'm on Apex. I mean, I have an Apex account, but again, I'm not into this like airtight tracking, getting it all right, only trading perfect setups just the way they're meant to be traded. Like I'm kind of using it a little bit passively, and it's like a 50K account. And it's like, it's just dripping down. I think I started it at like 71 and it's like sitting at like 59, and it's been up and down 10K like 5 times.
Yeah, I definitely haven't been
but
trading.
That's still a little steep for me right now. Like it's still stressing me out. It's enough to like look at it, open it, close it. Like I'd rather just get into something that's boring. That's what trading should be, right?
Well, when I went down to 5K and perp dexes, it was starting at like 2 to 3 Bitcoin positions. Now it's up to like 5, But yeah, like it does. It's like a little bit of a reset, but it does get exciting. I will say, someone in the chat asked, RT and Toasty, how long do you think the time window is for next bull run to last bottom to top? Like months from bottom to top, or longer this time, like a year plus? What does Beamish say about average?
Well, I'll tell you what he'll say right away is it's not different this time. And anytime people start to say it's different this time, that's when your signal is to get out. And so you see the it's different this time crowd come in at the points where it's supposed to change direction. So in other words, this is where the market was supposed to top. And as we came into this window, and especially this week, we were in Lisbon. Gunny, I don't know if you're still in the chat, but we were together in Lisbon having a great time. The top came in and rugged us while we were flying home. And this, like, there was a lot of talk of like, well, I don't know, like shit's really crazy this time. Maybe it's different. There was a lot of people swearing to God it was different this time. It wasn't different this time. And the market was supposed to bottom right around here. But there was a lot of people saying, oh no, FTX, this thing is different this time. It's going lower. It wasn't different. And so what I would say as far as next bull run, how long should it last? It should last until December 2025.
Right.
That's when you're going to get the debate of, is it going to be the top here or is it going to be different this time? I think it's going to be different this time, but I'm saying it now so it doesn't sound like a top signal. I really do think that at some point something's got to give, and real dApps, real applications need to be built on these blockchain layers, smart contracts platforms, that actually like killer dApps, like billion users, like we have to get to that point sometime. So it's either this cycle or the next one. But when that comes, we shouldn't have like the perfect 4-year thing anymore. That's like, we should get an adoption.
Well, to be clear, like that might have been the
So-
top for Bitcoin that you just pointed out, but like it certainly wasn't the top for tons of alts. Like,
yeah, a few of them did keep going. Well,
like-
just in those same alts, they're not up 50% on the year. Some of them are up, some of them are just
100%,
making down only. So I think of crypto cycle talk, it has to just stick to Bitcoin. Otherwise, it's like, well, this coin did that, but they all have different life cycles, and they're all driven. Oh, you read my mind, honey. Best lady. Let's go. Turn up Thursday. I was literally just thinking, I was like, should I text her? We're gonna be on for a little while. Okay, so yeah, sorry, I got distracted. What were you saying?
Well, it's just that like historically, since alts have been a real thing, they get their tops, usually a big sector of them, after BTC is topped.
Yeah, and that's that liquidity cycle that we look for, right? That's what we want. We want to see the Bitcoin get funneled into riskier, crazier assets, dopamine chasers.
Yeah,
and that's actually we haven't talked about yet. We should probably touch on is the dominance. Like, how high will it go? I mean, I would be shocked and shittered if it doesn't go higher. I mean, we had a 3 year. We had a year and a half, almost 2 years accumulation trough here, broke out of it. From a purely technical standpoint, that should extend. I mean, you want to go, this is the chaos levels. So nobody wants to talk about that, but
what was our first?
Here's your chaos one. Here's chaos
bull.
2. Alt season last bull. I mean, it was really like 2020. You had, what was it? Your COVID crash was here. So COVID crash didn't really affect dominance because everything just went down together. And then you had like a little mini alt run through the DeFi summer. As your DeFi summer looks like a little cock. Here you go. Like, whoa. Right? DeFi summer. My mom likes my art. And then, and then you had like a pretty shitty after DeFi summer bear. Weirdly enough, comes into like a sweep of highs. And something. I don't know. That's probably just ETH BTC sweeping a level. But, and then it was like 2021 was just literally up only for like Ethereum and other L1s and L2s, I guess. Not really L2s.
Yeah.
And then we got into the crash that was May 2021. Right. And then we never really recovered on a Bitcoin dominance. Like, some shit did well, some shit did badly, but it was all relatively
pretty much from the beginning of this cycle. It was alts on, because I was walking around with this impression, and I think it's because since COVID crash, I wasn't paying attention to alts. Only after we got that May crash did I pay attention. But I was walking around with the impression that like, oh, alts didn't do anything, when Bitcoin went from fucking 4,500 to 40K, 50K. But that's wrong, right? Like alts went crazy probably during that whole time.
Well, yeah, Bitcoin got it. Really, Bitcoin did everything it did from October. Let's look at this. October 2020 until April 2021. Like that was the entire Bitcoin rally. So what was that? October 2020 until April 2021. So that's what's sick. So Bitcoin took off here, and for the start, it was all Bitcoin, and then eventually it was like more ETH and everything else, even
Is that
more than
peak?
Bitcoin.
Go back to the Bitcoin chart. Is that peak
Yeah.
the first correction?
First,
That on the
what do you mean?
upwave that you have the line drawn through. See that first correction that's in the middle of that Gann grid?
Oh, right here.
No, lower. That
Right
one.
here? Yeah.
Is that peak on dominance?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
so
the start of January.
maybe you're looking for the first correction on BTC to really just rotate into alts.
Yeah. I like that idea. Like, because that's really what it should be, right? Is like it sucks in the liquidity from all the altcoins, and then it corrects, and then from here, really ETH took over.
Yeah.
On a dollar to dollar basis. And this last bit, Bitcoin did well, but ETH did better. And all the alts did presumably better too. And so that's kind of what I'm looking at too. And this is a good conversation because it's like, what are you going to talk about when it's like, wait and see. But like, let's get some good ideas in position.
I was going to try to get this in before we ended was a little bit of portfolio strategy.
Yes.
And so this is a nice transition because I'm thinking now, like, catch the low on BTC on maybe spot and then turn that spot into coin margin leverage once I feel like we're not going to sweep any more lows. And then just try to be as levered BTC as I can until that first correction. And then on that first correction, just rotate out into an alt heavy portfolio and use it as like my margin basis.
Yeah. Yep. Don't quote me on this. That'd be a fucking crazy squiggly. That'd be like the end of 2025 and then just like alt season forever. But no, get rid of that. But like, I think you're right. Getting into this Bitcoin position as the primary, because that's what you said, like starting out there as your margin. Toast.
Yeah. Well, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. My thinking being like, wait for a recession, really, like, or like just wait for markets in turmoil and then try to snipe the low and not use like leverage, try to get spot, but then get into leverage as soon as I can, as soon as I'm like, sure, this isn't going to go any further.
Mm-hmm.
And then just be leveraged for that like whole ride up.
You want to be leveraged from the bottom.
Yeah.
That's dope. That's kind of what I did here, like what I was trying to do here, but it was on ETH. And like, if you zoomed in, there was like a really sweet little local range and it like broke out and retested. And I actually managed to fill like a 300 ETH long. And then it was like,
nice,
but it's not like I rode that all the way up. I mean,
yeah,
this was uncomfortable. This was scary. Like, I think
because it's a bear market rally. Like,
yeah,
if it were after the halving, I'm sure you would have been more interested in holding it as long as possible.
Well, that's the mental fortitude, right? Is because let's just say you did long here and sell there, like you had to hold through absurd multi-week bearish phases that end in very, very scary things. Like when you're holding leverage, you're like, oh, I'm up $1 million, I'm down 600K today, but like I'm in a winning trade. Like the mental gymnastics it takes to be in those positions. As much as I'd like to sit here and say, like, I'm going to long the bottom and see you in 2025. Like, I know me. Yeah. I know that I'll, because you start to acclimatize to that P&L. You're like, oh, I'm up 600K. And then the next day, like, maybe for a week, you're in that 400 to 600K range, you're up. And then like the next day, you're like only up 200K because it does this dip. Your mental state at that point is not, I just made 200K. It's, I just lost 400K.
Yeah.
That's gymnastics that I have not learned yet. So I will probably just trade setups along the way. Spot long throughout. I'm not trying to, if I got into some really sick leverage positions and I have a chat with you and, we convince each other that it's like, okay, that actually probably is like so safe now for the next like year. what does it take for you to not touch it? And I'll figure it out. But
You're gonna see me like once that
I hope you
yellow
do, man. I
line
hope
on
you
my
nail like
chart.
6 sexy longs, and then the sickest, like the key is that initial breakout. You want to get long in a zone that's so obscure and so vague and so low that once that initial breakout comes, which was really like last January, right? Like, or this January, this previous January. Like if you got long here, once this breakout came, if you were comfortable giving it all back and just sitting at a break-even stop loss, like you're still long. And you're probably not going to get stopped out unless your stop loss at break even is literally the bottom that's about to come in. Like, so theoretically, the thing you're talking about already came this January. Another one I think will come this January.
Well, I didn't catch 3,800 in 2019, but I caught 4,500 on the COVID crash. I'm looking for like a repeat of that, except I didn't know about leverage. If I'd known, I probably, once we got above your bottom box there, like I probably would have just taken that and coin margined it. You know what I mean? Like, but
so you pick up the Bitcoin here, you're saying, and then go margin it into some longs.
Once we get, like, I feel like, okay, that was the capitulation,
That's so risky, but I like it. I mean, I like the thinking is like, here's the other thing, like depending how you're deployed in your life, do you have a job? Do you own a house? Do you have some savings? Do you have a side account that's just like, this is going to keep my family safe. Here's where I'm going to go all in and gamble. Like if you can be there, then, trying to buy Bitcoin at the lows and then coin margin the whole fucking thing, go for it. I think on the whole, that's like a recipe to just not be a part of the bull market that comes later. So I'm uncomfortable endorsing your ideas fully.
Well, rather like once that yellow line on my chart that says halving is behind us, like I'm full bore,
pretty comfortable. Pretty comfortable in longs. And really that's kind of like, I mean, we'll see when we get there, but that's kind of how I feel about January in general. Like I think just coming into like Jan 1st to 10th is a zone where I just want to be like, I don't want any cash. And if I end up being wrong and next year's like a macro recession and all this stuff sucks and the Nasdaq's pulling back and everything sucks, like we go down a bit, but like I'm still just going to be sitting in spot Bitcoin, spot Solana as my two main bags, and maybe some Ethereum if it cleans itself up. It's looking like a fucking mess right now. I'll tell you what I think about Ethereum, because I know you're dying to know. And then let's look at like Ethereum. Yeah, you're like, man, when's he going to talk about Ethereum
right now?
Look, Ethereum looks just gross. I saw a funny, actually, it was somebody shit posting in the pit, but like kind of right. And I'm a little biased because I just invested in a new L0, L1 that's like, more scalable. It's gonna be like, and so I've been talking to that founder a lot, and he's not shitting on Ethereum like I don't like it. He's shitting on it, just saying it's not going to scale the way that a global computer needs to scale. It's just not. And the L2s that are being used to scale it are great and they're fun. Anyways, and it just got me thinking about this like MySpace kind of Facebook vibe where it's like, is the first thing that is the be all end all. Historically speaking, it's not the one that's riding through the the finish line. So I'm not saying, I'm not going to shit on ETH. It's like, it's at such a point where you can shit on it. It's like right at this like Wyckoff throwback we've been watching. But all that being said, I do think that ETH BTC is going to trade much, much lower through whatever cycle may come.
I was doing a little bit of like historical look back on it, and it's like I kind of came to the conclusion that like ETH spends a lot of its time being relatively unexciting.
Yeah.
And then when it is exciting, it's fucking like ruthless.
Very exciting. Yeah.
It's like
extraordinarily exciting.
Yeah. I remember this Trumpet of Justice all the way up to, I think it was like 4K or something like that. That like last cycle on the second leg, where it was just unstoppable. Like it's just nuts. But everything before that was kind of boring.
Oh, like, yeah, we're thinking about like ETH USDC.
Yeah.
Oh God, what are all these lines on here?
Where's the trumpet?
Oh dear.
Where's the trumpet? There it is. It's at the top. That thing was so clean, that channel.
Oh, this thing?
No. The last one. Yeah.
Oh,
so like it was perfect.
Yeah. We'll be Like this kind of thing, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gorge.
Yeah. Clean. Yep. I remember talking about I posted something along the lines of like, hey, this would be where you'd want to short ETH if you were going to short it. I was like,
and I was
think
like, no, dude, it's going to.
Yeah, you talked me out of it. No, the same tweet, I think I said something to the effect of like, but I'm not going to because like I'm just going to hold or something.
Yeah.
And I like 2 weeks later, I streamed and I was like, yeah, oops.
It's a wrap.
Look, and just for anyone who's upset by my comments about Ethereum, I don't think it's going to die. I think it's going to have a place, but like you can't use it and honestly tell me that it's going to be the host of the next killer DApp. The thing that is like
David Hoffman cry.
The thing that blockchain was invented for to solve all these problems and to do all this stuff, and there's going to be some application that 1 billion people can use, and they're going to use Ethereum. I'm not going to use Ethereum.
No.
They're going to use something that's faster, more scalable, and that might be Solana, that might be Optimism, that might be Arbitrum. I would bet that it is something that we haven't yet heard of. I would like to think it's the thing that
like
I
a good 80% probability that ETH is Facebook.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, it's the way that the L2s are tapping into it. It is creating this scenario where, yeah, it can like maintain relevance as they do its job for it, and it does its job for them. And it's this nice synergistic thing of just like a mesh of different blockchains all kind of working from Ethereum. And so that's like scenario A of like, ETH stays super relevant, wins, and stays like the number one L1 forever. Yeah, I don't know. I just think that the architecture for blockchain is evolving. I think it's still super early, and I'm talking like 2020, 2032, 2035, 2038. Like it's so long into the future in crypto terms. Those are the years that I'm picturing. Like, where's ETH going to be then in a dominant sense? And I just don't think it's going to be number one altcoin anymore. It's too inefficient for me.
I think it will never again be number one in terms of percent returns, but I think it's going to stick around. Like you never
I'm talking market cap. I'm thinking market cap. Like users,
I don't know about that. I think it's gonna be hard to unseat it. You never hear billionaires shit on Warren Buffett. It's always like some dude in his mom's basement, right?
Yeah.
I think the same thing applies to ETH. Like you never hear, you never hear you never hear people who are at that level to actually make these criticisms, make them. It's always someone who's trying to come up and nip at the heels.
Yeah.
And it just sounds like,
well, I mean, there's some of the big names in this, but yeah, like Eamon from AVAX is not usually shitting on any other chains. He's just building. Eamon.
Yeah.
Me. Yeah. I don't know. And then, some of the Anatolia or like some of the bigger names over in Solana, they're usually staying out of the mud. I agree. There's always these like white knights though, like these Marines that are just like, I am the soul bro, and they're like walking around like ETH is trash, and but they're not actually building anything on Solana as much as like holding a lot. I mean, there's some builders that get pretty aggressive.
Also, you couldn't ask for a much better founder figure than Vitalik.
I love Vitalik, dude. I love Vitalik, and I love Ethereum. I still hold some. It's one of the few coins I have. Look, don't make me the guy.
No, I'm not
shitting on Ethereum. I'm just saying, technically speaking, too, this chart is either right at the low, and this will be a bottom post, and we can laugh about it in a few years, or we're just going to head back into this zone over a period of a year or two, and in that time, I think. Here's the bottom line. Right now, it just seems impossible to get an L1 or L2 off the ground when it's too far away from Ethereum, because everything, TVL, liquidity, volume, everything's just existing on Ethereum, and Arbitrum's starting to pick up a little bit. But it's like, it's this fight for liquidity, but it all just revolves around Ethereum. I just don't see that being the end game for crypto. It seems ridiculous to me that somebody would easily assume that that's the end game, and it's always going to be that, and it's just going to be about which chain can pull a little bit more from Ethereum, which will always be the hub. It seems much more likely to me that over a period of 10 years, new chains evolve, and there's likely just going to be bridging, and there's just going to be a lot of them. It's a multi-chain, omni-chain future. But the killer dApp, I'm just thinking about this billion user app that has to exist at some point if blockchain is worth its salt in any regard.
I think
What's that going to be, and what chain could it run on, or is it going to run on a lot of chains and just spread the load? And that app is Aave. Like, I don't know.
I think
But,
ETH
I
has
doubt
the
it.
perfect storm of the right founder, just like Barack Obama was the right first black president. Like he's the right founder.
Vitalik.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it. Like
No,
in
he's
the way
a
that
gem.
he is, he's the
My
right guy.
fun fact: my brother-in-law is friends with his dad. They're from Toronto. They're from where I grew up, and so I have a soft spot for him.
Yeah,
Dimitri Buterin's around in these parts, and I know a guy who knows him. I know a guy who knows a guy who does the stuff with this guy, right? And he's like, oh, I remember Vitalik. He's like a 7-year-old just running around, little puke, like he knows him. So I feel very close to him, even though, probably
you got that. You got the right guy. You got.
I like the guy.
It also won
and
in
they
a sea
scale.
of competitors during the ICO storm / pre-ICO storm. And it came out of a very pivotal moment when something else could have come out. And then it has Lindy and it has name recognition. And then it survived clearly technologically superior competitors. And like
not in any real meaningful way, though. If you think about
Atom
like,
is clearly better than ETH in like so many ways, it's not even funny.
Yeah, but has it been around long enough?
No, and it
Right?
won't.
Like, it hasn't had the
what I'm saying
time
is
that
that, like,
Ethereum's had. It hasn't had a second cycle, right?
well, I'm just saying that like
That's where I'm skeptical about these people that are
DOT
like,
even is technologically superior to ETH in like a million ways.
yeah.
It's just it doesn't matter. Like it's at that point where like that actually kind of doesn't matter.
What code? No, I'm honestly asking, what code do you code for DOT? Is it the because here's the thing: when all the libraries, before you answer, but all the libraries exist for everything that exists in crypto, at least smart contracts, they exist in whatever Solidity. What is it? Is it Solidity?
Yeah, well, Ethereum's Solidity,
Viper, whatever it is. And so when you're building, a lot of these things that are getting built, like they're just the devs, like a lot of it's ready made. And I think a lot of these chains, DOT is Rust, yeah. So like the Rust libraries, smart contract wise, like they're just not there. We're learning that at Hxro Network, like every single thing we want to do, we have to just build it from scratch. Something that might be 10,000 lines of code on Solidity. I don't think it's Solidity. What's the Ethereum one? Is it Solidity?
it's Solidity.
Okay, got it. I've been talking to devs a lot the last few weeks. And
Viper's a different one. I think it's built on like it's a way to execute like Solidity.
Okay, that's okay. So I'm not going crazy, but something that might be 10,000 lines of code in Solidity, it could be like 120,000 lines of code in Rust. This is just one of the facts that I was told by a Rust dev. They're like, yeah, this is why we're moving slow. So yeah, maybe DOT is superior tech and just isn't getting adoption. I just don't think you can count out anything that is non-ETH unless it's like an L2 that is essentially just ETH squared, like, and that's why you're seeing these L2s were spinning up so quickly, because they're just copy pasted code with slight little changes to different bits. I think, I'm really bullish on this one that I've been talking about recently. We'll talk about it more in the future. It's just a lot more flexible. I'm bullish on Solana, but I think Solana is going to just take more time, right? The builders need to build. So I don't think we can count anybody out of this race until the end of 2025. And even then, like, let's reassess. But if there hasn't been a significant shift in on-chain volume and TVL by the end of 2025 away from Ethereum, I will have a new opinion. Let's put it that way.
I was wrong about that, by the way. Viper is a Python-based alternative.
Python. That's the other one I was thinking of. So Python is more like on your computer trying to get shit done. Solidity is the smart contract one.
Yeah, people are coding using basically Python to code smart contracts on Ethereum using Viper.
Okay. Yeah, we have a dev at my fund, and we've been talking a lot lately, and I've been learning a lot, but also just feeling dumber as I get smarter.
But people think that it's smart. Like, people think the coding thing is so important. Like, oh, like, well, everyone codes in Rust, so you need that. It's like, dude, half the web all of the web is entirely dependent on JavaScript, which
Java.
is the worst fucking coding language like probably ever, but it has full dominance and domination. Like I don't think those things matter as much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is something to be said. Like there's also that, what was that? Kadena chain. So here's what I mean. Like there's really cool chains out there where the shill is
Isn't that
so
the proof of
strong.
work one?
KDA. No, there's a proof of work one. And this one could be proof of work. I actually don't remember. I just remember that they created their own smart contract language for this chain that is designed for, for this stuff. Like it's like, oh, this thing is just going to be perfect for blockchain, because the problem with Ethereum is
It looks perfect for blockchain.
yeah, this looks perfect. Well said. Like, but the problem with Ethereum, that I think is obvious, is not like unsolvable, but it's like it was built with like, hey, let's do smart contracts in this thing. But like, were the blocks and the kilobyte sizes of all the files, like, was it all optimized to be as scalable as possible through like a linear blockchain?
Definitely
Not right. And so you have these other people coming along who are saying, we're going to invent this concept, but we're going to use a more efficient language. We're going to use more efficient file sizes, byte sizes, all this stuff. We're going to use all of what we know about what's wrong with Ethereum, and we're going to recreate it to fix that. And I just think someone's going to call them at some point, and it'll be just so obvious and so much better.
Yeah.
And in this particular case, I'm going to keep going back to this new project, just because I've been talking to them like 3 times a week now. And, they've got a private investor group with not just investors, like founders and other teams. And there's a lot of devs and people in there that are like, oh, finally, like I need to build this thing. I can't run it on Ethereum because it's too expensive. I can't run it on this chain because we don't have the coding for that. I can't run it here because the onboarding process is too difficult. And so there is still a collection of people running whatever, real estate stuff, or like whatever things they think they want to use blockchain for, health records, education stuff, some of that like early 2017 shill stuff where it's like, oh, we're going to have every education system on the blockchain. But like those don't exist yet because the founders of them are getting to the table and they're realizing that it's not practical to create and run on these chains. So hearing those conversations going on now makes me think all this. So I'm definitely influenced a bit by those.
Yeah.
And then, right now ETH is what? It's like, and again, I'm not shitting on it. I participate in this game, but like it's a collection of random apps fighting over TVLs and liquidity and using incentives
that's
to
a
draw
particularly uncharitable description.
No, but like that's what it is on chain, right? So like these new things are being created, and a lot of the projects are like, we're going to launch here because that's where the hot ball of money is right now. Like there's just, I don't know. I'm not seeing the non-crypto crowd, right? Like I love what Hxro's network is building, because we're building the piping, the plumbing for what crypto is, which is like derivatives trading and options and futures, like price speculation. Like we're building for what's here. But what's going to grab the people who aren't here yet? What's going to solve problems for people that don't even know what blockchain is, and frankly don't want to learn what it is? They just want to benefit from its benefits. Like, who's building that? And that's not really bear market shit. Like that's not what's happening right now. Everything that's launching now is like a new DEX or a new of what we already have. It's just another version of give me some money.
Yeah. Well, I think that the first hint of what blockchain could be for regular people, because the only thing it can ever actually benefit regular people with is pseudo property rights for digital content. And Ethereum kind of broke the mold there, which is an important innovation. And it's like
with the NFTs.
Yeah. And also, like, if you go through the EIP library, which I did like at the beginning of last bull, it's extensive, the degree to which they've thought out the different derivations of like digital property rights in like ERC, 721 and 1155 and like all these other proposals that extend that concept. And I think that's the foundation for like, normies who don't want to learn about blockchain. Like that's the only thing that could ever be of value to them. But also, like, why is JavaScript still used today? Why? Because during the time when the internet was expanding from diehards to normal people, it happened to be the language in which the fundamental things that got used were built. And I think that the same is true for Ethereum. We got Aave, we got
Yeah.
Maker, borrowing and lending, we got NFTs. Like these are all the things that end up being the sort of foundational, pieces, and they're all built on Ethereum, first. And so that's why something as terrible as Solidity like could end up lasting a lot longer than people think it might.
Yeah, that's a really good take. It's an interesting comparison, just using real facts around Java. I'm not that familiar with Java. I hear about it all the time. You see it all over the internet, but like I'm learning more about it. I think that's what this new chain I'm talking about is built in for the record.
Really?
Yeah. I think its base chain is built in Java. But
That's
I can't wait to, I keep talking about it like I can't talk about it. It's not that I can't talk about it. It's just like there's not much to talk about yet, other than that it's like it's trying to create blockchain as like the internet, the way that there was like the TCP/IP protocol that like
then
links everything together, and then like on the internet you can just build a server in any language and a thing and then connect into it and like communicate with everything else on it. So the idea was like there's an infinite number of virtual machines. They could be EVM, they could be SVM, they could be JVM, like whatever you want to build that framework in, and they all connect through this one main chain that's super fast. And so similar to Cosmos in a way, but with some improved validator specs and tokenomics and coding stuff. So I'm all high and mighty on these new ideas. Not high and mighty, but like I'm high on some shiny new toys that I think will come to market next cycle. New narratives, and they'll take the things of last cycle and fix them and shit on them and rebuild, and there'll be shiny new toys, and no resistance because there's you look left and there's no candles. So I still think next cycle will be a shiny new toy environment. I think there'll be some old friends coming to pasture. What's your favorite bag for next cycle? Maybe give us 3, because it's hard to pick. I know it's hard to pick.
Yeah, like I said, like I'm going to be pretty mainly interested in BTC, and probably now until that first correction. Now that we spotted that,
yeah, me too.
But
I'm starting there. Yeah,
the rotations for me will be into probably AI, probably metaverse. I don't think that narrative's cooked. I think it's going to come back really strong.
Like that take.
And then I'm just going to be looking for new. I'm probably just going to be looking for new yield Ponzi's, to be honest with you.
Yeah, my favorite coin is the latest Ponzi that gets announced the day before it launches.
Yeah, Render's probably. I could see Render at like $20 or $30.
Well, that's the fun thing too. Like even if you're not 100% sold on A, B, or C, like you just know as shit heats up, there'll be something that's super fucking successful. And then in the wake of that, there'll be 5 things just like it that are just riding its coattails. And if you play the game correctly and you get in early and you get out quick, 10, 20, 100 X's will come within a period of days, multiple times, back to back. Yeah. The rotation game gets so insane in those environments. So yeah, I'm with you, dude. As much as I'm like, I'm an investor, like when we get into the froth, I'm going to be right there with you in the weeds, just playing with the nasty, gross shit that you just know won't be around next cycle. But you're like, I'm going to play this till it's dead. Speaking of shit that won't be around next cycle, guess what is still around?
What?
Your homie wrapped memo.
Whoa.
Where is it? Oh, no, where is it? Where's the
wonderful memories, dude?
I was going to say it's still around. Where's the wonderful memories? All these LPs are shit.
Yeah.
Is there no big one left?
There is an old there. I was looking at it like earlier this year, and I definitely found one.
Still kicking, dude. It's 28K. It's loving life.
Wow.
I mean, it hasn't moved since Seafood Gate right here. That's what I wanted. I wanted to point out. Like, everyone's like,
it's not yielding anymore.
Well, no, it is. It's yielding, but it's relatively flat, right? Because so this is the wrapped yield.
But I don't know, like
it's printing new time tokens. So the value of time is going down. Oh, you're saying they stopped the time print?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, actually, I
farm
remember
is
that. I remember
paused.
hearing that. Yeah, I remember hearing that earlier. Okay, thank you for looking that up.
Pause. Like we're gonna start it back up
We
later.
paused the farm. Yeah, it may resume, but for now it's paused. But it's just been chilling around treasury value. I'm assuming it's still treasury value. I have not looked into this for a while. The Dow got out of control. I was in there for a little bit, and it just turned into this like insane Dow of emotion. But for all the haters out there, right as Sifu Gate came in, this actually became the best coin to hold. I would say arguably slightly better than stable coins. If you bought it at the lows of Sifu Gate, 18K, you're up 10K.
Oh, they're migrating to a new token called Volta.
Oh shit! Is it time to take a look back?
I kind of think so, dude.
No, probably not. Probably not. But all I know is they have a big treasury, and it should be around $219 million because that's what the fully diluted valuation of this treasury token is. So what can you do with 200 mil in crypto? I mean, who's running the ship? Who's the Dow? Who's in charge of the Dow? I mean, there's $200 million to play with here. Might be something. I don't know. I'm not sure. This is okay. Back on track.
Treasury
I just wanted to point out that
right now.
I love pointing out that was the best hold of 2022, as everyone was shitting on it at the start of January.
Yeah, and you had mentioned harmonics.
Everything dropped 90% from there except Wrap Memo.
If you pull up the Wonderland chart with some history on it, there was a bullish butterfly, I want to say, and I used a harmonic to both get out and get back into time in the middle of that whole craziness.
Like a log chart?
No, it was a XABCD.
I won't pretend to know how to draw those. I've learned them.
Is that on Wrap Memo that you're looking at, or is that time?
One of these kind of things?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I don't remember the ins and outs of these harmonics. That's probably it, though, isn't it? Probably close. Let's be honest. It looks like a harmonic.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, this is time. So this isn't Wrap Memo, but this is time.
Yeah.
What a sick fucking coin, bud. What a sick run that one on.
It was.
I remember watching like the holders list went to like 100K, and I was like, oh shit, and then 200K, 300K, 350K. And then like guys, TikToks were blowing it up. They were just like, get onto the time run. And I was just sitting there like, oh shit, this is insane.
Yeah. You could miss out on the whole cycle and just get in for Danny coins and have done exceedingly well.
Outperformed everything. Yeah. Like, and then so that's kind of this idea. And I know we're going over time today, but like, let's talk about surviving as a wrapping up thought, because something like this, and this looks like, okay, I've seen bigger charts, but you haven't seen charts that print 70,000% APY daily.
Yeah.
And
with that, you can also use as margin and collateralize.
Yeah, you can collateralize them on Spell and get your MIM out and then go and fucking loop it. And it's going up versus USDC. And it had like you could sell 200K of this stuff and it would move the needle, like not even 1%. Yeah. So it was a hyper liquid, hyper growth, hyper APY, marginable coin. Like you just won't get a better one ever. And
I'm gonna tell my daughter about it one day and be like, so we were getting the APY, it was collateralized, and it was going up.
Yeah. I missed my mom meeting my son for the first time to buy this thing. Okay. Launch day came at a very bad time for me. And I said, I don't care. I'm hitting it. But the point is, survive this bear market that we're in right now. And at whatever level, whoever you want to listen to on CT, whoever, doesn't matter. One thing that is guaranteed is that from some level, at some point in time, at some level, this thing will bottom. Buyers will step in, sellers will run out. It will build a base, and it will have another speculative rally. Now, I don't know if that will go forever, but it's at least happening one more time.
Yeah.
And that's not just cope. I mean, just look around the world. It's at least happening one more time. There's too much money, and there's too much promise, and there's too much speculation left in the engine for it to be done. Now, in 10 years, if there's no super dApps and fucking Ethereum still expensive, like we could say, oh, it's had its run, the speculation's run dry. It's not run dry yet. And so survive until 2025 for now. I don't think much of next year, but like that environment of Wonderland. That's 2025. And maybe it's longer, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe it's different this time, but it's sometime from some point. There's just going to be a fuck you, skyfuck rally of some coin.
Yeah.
Be here for that. That's my non-financial advice to you. Just be around for that. Be paying attention for that. Don't run away before that.
Yeah.
And it's going to be good, man. It's going to be really good. And that's why I'm sports betting. Because I want to cap my risk and cap my sanity and stay active and keep trading and essentially trading and watch some hockey and like enjoy my life while I wait for that. And I'm still working, but I'm just not trading. I'm grinding every day. I'm learning. But
I'm wage cooking hard out here, dude.
yeah, Satoshi's working at the grocery store. Like you just like you gotta survive, man.
I'm in the bakery, baby.
He's in the bakery. Yeah. He's got the French loaf.
Yeah.
So our producer's probably sitting there like, okay, guys, it's time for lunch, time for dinner. Let's get out of here. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Dude, it's been fun. I don't think we've ever done a duo stream. I'm just shooting the shit. Probably because my lady kept bringing me these old pickle beans. Nice. Get yourself a pickle bean Caesar. Ice cold, baby. All right. Have a wonderful day, guys. Take us out of here. It's the toast sheet.
Peace out, y'all. Hey, if you want to ship post with us as we wait for the second bottom, go to hxro.com, click community, join the pit, and talk to me as a piece of toast. And RT will be there as a cartoon frog. And we'll see you guys.
Chewbacca made me that frog. I like it.
Shouts Chewbacca. He quit. Yeah. He quit the pit.
He did quit the pit.
We'll see you guys next time on.
He went full wage cock. Okay, take care, guys.